Hold on, clip. I understand your perspective. Answer this question. When they looked at you and you seen that they was giving you kind of an ugly look or uncomfortable look, in your head, you believed they probably think I'm a black American because of the way I look, correct?
No, well, yes.
All right then. Why is that a derogatory perspective or perception?
Yes, but so okay, let me
Answer the question. Why is being
how to explain this, Karina? She's way before, like I'm talking about 10, 15 years. I'm a truck driver, so to me, they've always gave good content. And so are you telling me that Jamaicans are every Jamaican you met is this horrible person, every Jamaican grandma or whatever?
I never said any Jamaican was a horrible person.
Some of the most aggressive people in the world are Jamaican people, but
I never said that any person in the world. Listen, that's great. Hold on. I never said that any Jamaican was a terrible person.
So I'm not saying that you said that.
But the way you position that,
I'm using an example.
Woo! Hold on. Yeah, this is one of those. Hold on, let me fix this. This is one of those particular situations where it's going to get not excitingly, but you got to really stick around and watch to the end of this video to see like the progress, the progression. I don't want to give anything away in the beginning. Hold on. Hi. My name's AdonisCrashBoom, and you guys are watching Adonis Live. If you liked this video before I just said this, you're a true legend. If you haven't liked this video yet, guys, give this video a like, all right? This video is very interesting because it shows the hypocrisy. It shows the diabolicalness of how they try to out-chess the chess master. They shows the shower of the shows them. All right, let me calm down. Listen, but you'll see, like, this particular video is diabolical, all right? Please don't forget to like this video. Hope you guys learned something from this particular interaction, and I hope you guys learned from this particular conversation. Don't get too hot. Don't get too headed. A couple words I don't want to see inside of my particular comment section at this moment in time is FBA, and I don't want to see tether. Remove those words from your comment section so you can comment whatever you want, but I don't want to make this particular talk. And you're probably like, what? Why? Because I don't want to make this particular talking pattern the only thing that people want to be able to say, and I don't want this to be the basis of the conversation of everything. You can be an FBA without having a conversation using FBA in every single word place. It's diabolical. And you can have a conversation without having the word tether inside of your wordplay. It's diabolical. Be more articulative, be more expressive, be more uniquely dynamic, all right? Shit. Be creative. Articulate your point in an intellectual way. You can't be using these general terms that we understand, but the rest of the world don't. And I know it's not our job to educate them. Let's get it. What's up, Sean?
How are you?
I'm good. Where you from? I'm good.
I'm from the Bahamas.
Bahamas? How old are you?
How old am I? That's what you asked?
Yeah.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, you got a lot of noise in the back, but it's cool.
Okay, let me cut that out. That is what I was concerned about.
Don't worry, it's gonna pace up. It's gonna pace up. Just wait till everything starts off. It's gonna get trust me, watch. This is crazy. It's an interesting conversation. Don't like the video. Don't get mad now. Shit.
Yes. Okay. So can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm from the Bahamas, but so the reason why I was saying that, right? So obviously I'm from the Caribbean, and I know you're from New York. So it's my interpretation of you, right, of your character, and the reason why you do what you do, especially when you go to London. Well, actually, no. Because a lot of what you do, I think it's real, it's justified, right? Because people do have real dumb perceptions of African Americans. So that I understand. But so with you growing up in New York City, right? I know you grew up around Caribbean people. Are they such horrible people that you understand what I'm saying? They're these horrible people that just hate African Americans. Do you feel that?
I don't think that anybody in America, in New York, see people as African Americans or Caribbeans, or maybe Africans and Spanish, but not really like that. It's not like that out there.
Yeah, so because the narrative with a lot of a lot of the ideologies, and it's my perception that these ideologies are mostly coming from, so somebody creates a narrative, and the narrative is that, you know, like, so the whole, so everything, like the FBA thing, the ADOS thing, like, because me personally, I've been a big fan of like Tariq Nasheed way before, like I'm talking about 10, 15 years. I'm a truck driver, so, you know, to me, um they've always gave good content, and the lady Yvette Cornell also, even though Tariq don't like her, me personally, I got respect for her. I feel like I like how she give statistical information, all of that, of what is going on in America. But I feel like the message get lost in translation, and with some people, when they get the information, they perceive it as all Caribbean or all African people are like this enemy that we have to war against. You understand what I'm saying?
What does this have to do with me?
So I feel like you're in that vein where you're you you started off like, I feel like I understood your argument, because people do have dumb perceptions of African Americans, and I'm speaking specifically of that ideology of this dumb fake perception of what some people have of African Americans. But what I'm saying is that sometimes I feel like I was saying before, the information gets lost in translation, and it some people, when they accept the message, they accept it as all Caribbean or all African people are tethers and all these horrible people, and they feel like they're on a mission to war against them. That's what I'm saying.
What does this have to do with me?
So it has to do with you, because you're like also one of the champions of this, you know, the kind of divide per se.
Champions.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So, like I said before, I feel like a lot of what you was doing was justified, but I feel like sometimes it could be it could become, it could turn into like a ego inflation, like a unnecessarily or unjustified ego inflation,
Give
where
me
I
an
feel
example.
like where I feel say it again.
Give me an example.
So there's greatness, and there's um so there's like a polarity in every single group. This is my belief.
Give me an
So
example
where
that pertains to me.
So no, it's pertain to you. Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. So that I feel like that there's greatness in every single group, in a polarity, the same way that there's deadbeats
How
and
does this
people who
pertain to
really,
me though? I'm trying to
they
like
ain't built to nothing.
where do I come into contact with this particular narrative or this? I don't like you're saying general statements that can apply to anybody, which is cool, but what does this have to do with me? Like I don't like give me an example of where I've enhanced ego.
Well, so like for example, like with some of your content, right? Like when you're in UK and you say like you when you tell people stuff like, oh, you guys dress like us and you guys do, but everybody kind of copies everybody. That's just,
No,
you know,
so tell me
us.
something that we've copied from people from Barbados. That's where you say you're from, right?
No, I'm from the Bahamas.
Oh, Bahamas. Give me a fashion style that we've copied from Bahamas.
Here's the thing with the Bahamas. The Bahamas is a little different as compared to, I wouldn't even say different compared
Give me
to other
something
places
that
in the
what have we
Caribbean, but
copied? What have we copied? I don't understand. Like where does the copiness come from?
And this is the no. I was using that as an example from your videos in the
But
UK.
that's a general
So,
statement
but when
that
I
that
say
doesn't
like
apply.
so I'll give you an example with Bahamian people, right?
No, give
Because
me an example that let's stay on topic. Don't keep switching. You said that we all copy from everybody. Give me an example of us copying from people from Bahamas. You're from the Bahamas. So give me an example. Matter of fact, give me an example of us copying from people from the UK.
well,
That's easy. Two. You
um,
can choose between two. Go ahead.
but that's the thing. It's not. It's like saying, like for example, here in America, people like Italian suits. You understand? But I don't
Yes,
think
but that's
it's necessarily like people like fly shit. That's just what it is.
but what does that have
You
to do with
understand?
anything? In America, we have Italians. Italians who migrated over to especially New York City is heavily influenced by Italians. We had one of the
Yeah,
biggest Italian
but
mafias.
but those Italian suits are not coming from New York. They're coming from Italy.
No, originally, when first of all, originally New York was dominated by Italians, and a lot of the suits were created by Italians itself. So even the suits that the term of us wearing international clothing or Italian suits was a term of superficial hierarchy, like a hierarchy of success. You fly to Italy to get an Italian suit. That was one of the things. That's one of the reasons why Gucci and all of these foreign cultures, like foreign fashions, became popular in America because it gave a symbol of success and wealth because we weren't able to get it unless you flew over there. So when they started having this trading situation between the countries, more poor people started being able to buy these things, and it became a trend of some sorts to show your wealth class. But that's not the reason why, like especially with Italian suits in particular. New York City is one of the most fashion icons of the world, and the Italians were go and get their Italian suits from Italy and stuff like that, and that was a trend that happened. But give me an example of us copying other people.
But and that's the thing. But here's the thing. I don't look at it as copying. That's the thing.
You
I'll give
said
you
that we
another.
get. You did. You just said. Let
So,
me check.
well,
You just said.
can I
Hold
give
on.
you
Let's not
an
deviate
example?
because I'm just. We're gonna go. I'm going on the points that you're
I'll give
making.
you an example. You're from New York, right? I'm a little older than you are, right? So I grew up like in the '90s, right? So I saw when the culture started changing, when there was more Caribbean people that started coming into New York, and the culture started to blend. So whereas you would see a little bit more African American kids wearing dreadlocks, and the culture started to blend where they started incorporating also Caribbean culture into the hip hop culture, right? So that to me, I feel like it's a shared thing, and I don't look at that as necessarily as a bad thing
Yeah,
because
but that's
yes,
that's not
obviously.
ego inflation. That's a different situation. Like the statement that you made, the statement that I'm just trying to
Well, me
understand.
personally, I feel like all black people indulge because Caribbean people do it also too, also, and I think it's ignorant and arrogant.
That's
You
fine, but that's not
understand?
the problem I'm
So
having.
no matter to who, where, or who is coming from, I think that is ignorant and arrogant because I feel like we all could learn from each other,
I understand
and
what you're
that
saying, but
we've
that's not the
always been
problem
that
I'm
way as a
having. The
people.
issue that I'm having right now is the word you said is my conversations can become ego and ego inflating. And I said, what kind of ego inflating? You said because you made a statement saying, oh, but you copy our clothes and our style. And I said, yeah, that's true. That's a fact. Yes, but I feel like we copy from everybody. Everybody copies from everybody. And I said, give me an example. You're from Barbados, you're from Bahamas and UK. Give me an example of us Americans copying from the UK and people from Bahamas. You
Well,
haven't been able
but
to give it.
the
You used the
Bahamas,
reference of
that's
Italy.
why I said the Bahamas is not a good example because the Bahamas people are they are an extension of the Black American people from the Eastern Seaboard. So that's not a good
Then that
example.
statement to say that everybody copies from everybody, if Bahamas is not a good example, then use the people from the UK.
Say it again. Say that part again.
Then that statement of you saying everybody copies from everybody, if Bahamas is not a good example, that means you can't use the word everybody. And then if that's the case, then use the people from the UK and give an example.
So no, okay. So I'll stick on to the Bahamas thing. So in the Bahamas,
You said they're
we
not a good
start.
example. There's no reason to it.
Well,
Give me an example of proving your point. You said it is an ego
well,
trip, and I said why. You said this is where I'm at right now. You said it's an ego trip.
yes,
I said
it's
why. Matter of fact,
yes,
fine. Choose a different point. Where do you
yeah.
see my content or any of the videos interactions being an ego trip?
Well, and that's the thing because when you ask for a specific example, because I'm not gonna lie to you, and in a way, I feel like a lot of what you do or say is justified. So even sometimes when you
Give me an
And
example of it not being justified. Give
I'm
me
not
hold on,
talking.
hold on, hold on. Give me an example of it not being justified. Because saying a lot of what you say and do is justified. Nah, that's just a scapegoat to say you're no. Give me one example of what I said that's not justified. One.
Well, I don't I honestly don't I honestly don't see anything whereas you're not necessarily justified.
So you can't say a
You see what I'm
lot
saying?
of. You have to say all of what you do is justified. You giving space for other people and grace for other
Well,
people of a
well,
hypothetical
I can't
situation.
say all of what you do is justified because sometimes I feel what sometimes I feel like you're some of the arguments I feel like you it lacks information. You see what I'm
Give me an
saying?
example.
So, for example, you're absolutely right. Like when you speak about American people, right? So when you speak about American people having paperwork for, and so they know where they've been, right? So, like for example, if you had approached me in the if you had approached me, I'm in the same boat as you. I could say that, you know, because I could trace my lineage back to North Carolina from back all the way back into the 1700s because Bahamian people are from the Eastern Seaboard. The only reason it was only because of the Revolutionary War where where the people who wanted to stay loyal to the crown, they took their people from the Eastern Seaboard and formed the Bahamas. Do you understand? So that is justified, but it's the same thing with African history. Like African history is complex. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I understand why people feel away, but African people do retain a lot of their culture. So if you speak to a Yoruba person, that Yoruba culture is something that's been passed down. We honestly don't know how
I just
long.
asked you for an
Like,
example. I
like
understand
for
what you're saying.
example,
Hold on. You're
yeah.
deviating. You're deviating and deflecting. Give me an example of something I said that was not justified.
Well, and that's what I said. You remember I said that I don't see anything that you said necessarily that's not justified.
All right, then you can't say that almost everything. Almost no, it's everything I said was justified. There's not one particular
Well,
statement I ever said that wasn't justified.
I can't necessarily agree with that because I feel like some things that people that you say it it a lot of times it lacks information.
Give me an example. What has I've said that lacks information?
So when you tell the African person that they don't have like, it's true, they don't have records, but that don't necessarily means that they're not, indigenous or have a history of who they are and where they came from.
That's not the point of the conversation and majority of all of these talking points. So that statement is a hypothetical perspective that came from your head.
So
We're not having a
so
conversation on if they're indigenous or not. We're not having that. We're having a conversation on if you know where you're from. That's where that conversation comes from. So with documentation proving that my documentation knows more history and knows my lineage more than theirs, that's justified. So the perspective that you're stating right now is a hypothetical alternate reality conversation that we've never discussed on this particular video. So give me an example of what I said that was not justified.
and that's but I did say that you are justified in that. But
Bro,
when
yeah.
but, but yeah, I did. I give you that one, right? So but again, so my argument is more to the point where, and so maybe, and I could be I could be wrong in coming at you about it, but I just feel like the whole entire argument is creating like this particular divide that don't really have any, that lack any information. Whereas,
Why do you fear divide?
why do I fear divide?
Yeah.
Because I feel like the worst thing for the black diaspora, period, is a divide, and
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
I've never heard I think people who fear divide are weak. You fear a divide because you're weak. I could stand by myself and stand alone and progressively move forward. Let's talk about it. Anybody who deviates from the flock has a hypothetical situation that they could possibly make it on their own or not. So it's like that picture of everybody going right, but there's a few people going left. Those few people usually become entrepreneurs, successful, wealthy, and rich. Some of them don't, but a lot of them do, you know? So people that fear the divide of this particular flock, where there never was a unity in a place, which is diabolical to say, we never had a unity. We never ever been together at all. A lot of the slave trade was all inflicted off of divide itself. And even Africa to this day is still divided within their own continent. But hey, no one's talking about that. Let's talk about Americans. There's no
Now,
such
mind you,
thing as a divide because there's never been a unification.
so there are people who are working tirelessly behind the scenes to try to like mend a divide that I don't want, not even necessarily, well, divide, yes, because
You talking about
yes,
Pan
we're all the
Africanists?
diasporas, we all have our own culture and our own different places,
Are you talking about Pan
but
African Pan
well,
Africanists?
not necessarily Pan Africanism in itself. I'll give you one example. There's a kid, an African kid named Wode Maya. Are you familiar with him?
He's a YouTuber.
Yes.
He makes the videos showing the reality of Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And he also goes, but also along with Africa, he goes to other places like the Caribbean and comes to the United States and talk to people. Also, he has fans across the wide spectrum who are mostly would you Afrocentrists, right?
But that's easy. That's easy for me to just shoot videos and document the positive perspectives and interactions and only show the positive shit. That doesn't make any change if you're not really addressing the discomforts and the uncomfortable interactions that happen on a broad scale. You're just shadowing it with positivity, fake positivity that's not even real. My experiences in my videos are authentic reactions, authentic situations, and authentic time engagements, not artificially created situations that show everybody being unified because that's not real. So, like, if you want to live in a fantasy land and you say, like, do you have kids?
How is that not real?
I'm giving you an example. Do you have kids?
No, but how is that not real?
All right. So
Like
if
I
you
said
have,
before,
so I'm gonna tell you how it's not real. I'm
I'm
gonna
a
tell you how it's not
Bahamian
real.
person, right? I'm from the Bahamas. When I came to the United States,
You want me to answer your
damn near,
question? I
damn
can
near
answer your question.
everybody who I encountered, African Americans and Jamaicans, all of these other people, like I've met some wonderful people since I've been here.
Yeah, but
I've
that's
been
you.
sleeping in people's
That's
houses
you're
and
not.
different
Hold
stuff like
on.
that.
You're not listening. That's you. You're going to America and you're meeting wonderful people. Americans are going to other people and meeting terrible people. You Americans are
Well, you
all
got a point. You got a point.
Americans are all helping with everybody in the diaspora. When Africans and Caribbeans come to America, they come into Black American neighborhoods, and Black Americans show them love. The Black Americans, they're not in white neighborhoods. They're not even in Asian neighborhoods. We are openly friendly to everybody else, and everybody else is not the same reciprocal interaction and engagement. So now that we're starting to see on a mass scale that everybody outside of America is treating us terribly, and we're still treating them nice and everybody's having a problem with. No, fix your people, gang. I'm not gonna sit here and now. I'm not a Donald Trump fan at all. Anybody who knows me know I don't fuck with Trump. But that's the situation with the tariff war that's going on with America right now. The tariff war. A lot of people say, "Oh, Donald Trump putting all these tariffs." Yeah, because these other countries have been terroring America for decades at this moment in time. Decades. I think India has a 700% tariff on all American imports of alcohol at this moment in time. And no one's been talking about it. But since now America wants to say reciprocal tariffs, now everybody has a problem. Come on, stop it. We want reciprocal energy. You want to come to our country, you want us to treat us nice, but then we treat you nice and you still treat us like shit. Then we go outside of the country, you talking crazy about us, you acting crazy about us, and now everybody's seeing it. Now we're the problem? No, you guys are the problem. I don't want to hear any type of situation like, oh, whoa, there's no divide. We were the people that just put everybody on our back. We the people that said we like everybody. We were the people that said Black Power. We made Black Power popular. We made it a coin turn. We the people who did the most amount of shit. But now we're not our ancestors. We're not going to sit there and let you spit in our face and smile and say, no, it's all for unity. No, we're not doing that. It's clip for all that shit. Just like segregation is popping back up. You think we pressed? We not pressed. You gonna eat that dry ass food. I'm
Yeah,
eating
but
chicken and waffles.
but that's what I was saying. Like, so what I was saying before, like, in every group, there's a multipolarity, and this is the reason why it's kind of hard for me having this discussion with you because of the fact that agree with a lot of what you're saying. And that's a problem because I'm trying to express a part, but I want that multipolarity to be known because there's multipolarity in
There
all of
is
us.
no multipolarity being known. I'm tired of other people keep saying, I'm tired of everybody else says, no, 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 worry about my pain. Let's forget about yours. No, 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 worry
No,
about
no,
my
no,
pain.
that's
Let's
not
forget
what
about
I
yours.
mean by multipolarity. So I'll give you an example. So, like, you're from New York. You know Jamaican people, right? There's a lot of Jamaicans in New York. So are you telling me that Jamaicans are every Jamaican you met is this horrible person, every Jamaican grandma or whatever, whatever?
I
Mind
never
you,
said any Jamaican was a
some of the
horrible
most
person.
aggressive people in the world are Jamaican people, but
I never
at the
said
same
that
time
any
too,
person
they
in the
they could
world.
be some of the most
Listen,
sweetest people in
that's
the world.
great. Hold on, hold on. I never said that any Jamaican was a terrible person. So
No, I'm not saying that you said that.
yeah, but the way you
I'm
position
using
that
an
wordplay,
example, sir.
listen,
I'm using an example. I'm not
that's
saying you're saying
great.
that.
That's great. But
My example is to show.
bro, you wildin'. That's great. But the way you position your wordplay, it puts this narrative in its perspective. So I need to clip it at the beginning of it. You can say whatever you want to say, but if you talk at a crazy terminology, which you might not be your intentions, not saying it is your intentions, but your wordplay is very important when we are online. So when you make a statement and say like, "Oh, so you think you met Jamaicans?" Are you saying? Look at the statement. Are you saying that all Jamaicans are? I never implied that I say that. You say that. So just clear up your wordplay, especially when it associates to me, my name, and my face. Pay attention to that moment. We're gonna round back up to that.
You're right,
Truthful.
but do you understand what I'm saying though? As
Yeah, I
far as
understand,
polarity.
but I can't. We can't assume that everybody else is gonna understand what you're saying.
No, I said you're right with that. I agree with you 100%. I was wrong for that, but but what I was saying about polarity, right? So within all of us, it's the same thing even with African people. Yes, you know, my appearance when I walk into a place, I look like an African American person, right? So, but if I walk into, but I like African food. When I walk into an African restaurant, people gonna look at me away because they're thinking they never hear me talk and hear that I have a Bahamian accent. They just see this American guy coming in here coming to buy their food. You see what I'm saying? But and it's not even necessarily a good or bad thing, but of course people because I think what it is that sometimes people look at you and it take a while for them to process the who you are. I guess the mind just the brain works that way. But in my mind, I'm thinking that they're looking at me a certain way or judging me or whatever. I feel a certain way and I feel uncomfortable. But because I like the food, I still go into the restaurant and patronize the restaurants. So but what I'm saying is that I feel like with all, especially with black people, especially with the people who need the healing the most on this planet, is the black diaspora. That's the reason why I don't agree with the dumb stuff with anybody saying anything about African Americans. I don't agree, and to me that's another thing too. Like I feel like black people just in general are just so arrogant. You understand? And a lot of times it's just so unnecessary.
I
When
don't agree with that. I don't think that even the term to say that black people are so arrogant is wild, wicked work. That's a generalization. That's crazy because you could say white people, Chinese people, Asian people. That's a crazy terminology and a diabolical stereotype that's just not beneficial to the community. But another thing that I have an issue with in general is the fact that just because people need to understand that all black people are not the same and all melanated dark skinned people are not the same. So if somebody looks at you and assumes that you're African American or black American, you should have a problem with that because they don't assume that North Koreans and South Koreans are the same. They don't assume that Japanese people and Chinese people are the same. So you allowing them to do that by still eating at their establishments without correcting them is an issue. It's part of the problem. That's a problem. They should be
No,
frowned upon and gave
I
up.
don't see how that's a problem. You understand? My thing is this: as a black man, I'm not gonna let nobody stop me from going anywhere black. You understand? Whether people feel a way about me or not. You
So
understand?
if the people of
I'm
that particular
I'm walking
ethnic
into an
community,
environment of my family.
nah, that's
I'm
not
not
how.
gonna
That's not your
I'm not gonna
environment of your family.
defam, huh?
That's not the environment of your family. You said that you was in an African establishment. That's a completely different culture and a completely different tribe of people. So if they're treating you a certain type of way, you can't say I'm going into any. Everyone's not black. Like black is associated with a particular tribe of lineage of people. Just because the westernized Caucasian people generalize that term to say, "Oh, you're black because of your skin," no, that's not a proper terminology, and that's just reverse racism that you guys accepted. You're from the Bahamas. Accept your particular culture of your people and stop allowing people to generalize you into a group of people. Black is not a monolith. It's not. It's cool. What if I called you Tyrone? Can I call you Tyrone? Because so many black people names is Tyrone. Well, let's just fuck it. Let's just call you all black, all melanated, dark skinned men Tyrone. Then that don't make sense. Like,
Now that I won't. That what you're saying, I don't agree with at all.
all right,
That part
cool.
I don't agree with.
It's a social construct at the end of the day. So if you want to self-identify yourself as a generalized social monolithic construct because it makes you feel safe in a room full of melanated people, you could blend in. Cool, that's on you. But for me, I don't have a problem with sticking and standing out and being the oddball out of the reach. I don't have a
No,
problem.
that's what I'm saying. And I look like an oddball, but it's the same thing when I go into a Haitian restaurant because
But the
but
problem is, I'm gonna tell you the problem is. The problem is everyone wants to masquerade and hide between the bodies of Black Americans. And when we say we don't want them hiding in the bodies of Black Americans, everybody has a problem with it. But we can't hide inside of their culture and norms. I remember when everybody was adapting. I don't know what year were you born? How old are you?
for me, I'm a whole lot older than you. I'm from this from the I was born in the '70s.
All right. So when Jesse Jackson popularized the term in the 1980s, African American, me being born and raised in that, like in the 90s to the 2000s, bro, you know how many Africans have told me you're not African? You're not. Do you remember that whole shift when we weren't African and everybody, oh, stop calling yourself African? You never even been to Africa. Now
But
everybody.
that's actually not necessarily, especially depending on where you live, especially with somebody that lived in New York, because New York always, especially New York always had this Afrocentric undertone or underleaning, whereas the graffiti, the knowledge,
That
the
graffiti, all that's not
the
African.
information, and
Hold
it
on, bro. What are you talking about? That's not New York. What are you talking about?
that is New York.
No,
That
it's
is New
not.
York.
I'm telling you, I'm from New York, bro. I was born and raised in New York. That's not New York. First of all, even every part of New York is completely different. Harlem had the whole Harlem Renaissance. The Bronx had a whole bunch of Spanish and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, and then Brooklyn had a couple of Caribbeans and stuff. Every different environment has a different particular community. Even Manhattans were dominated by Italians, and then the Chinatown itself. So when you sit down and say that's New York, that's crazy. That's diabolical.
Yeah,
No.
but so and okay, so I would say amongst black folks, and when I say black folks, I mean the people who call themselves and identify themselves as black, which was the African American and the Caribbean community. So
The
those
only the
communities,
only relevant let me let you know something about New York. The only relevant I'm gonna tell you, Zulu Nation had a huge influence in hip hop and in like African Bombada, all this different types of stuff. Yeah, it had a huge Afrocentrist time, but that's not New York, and that's not all black people. My grandfather was Muslim in New York.
yeah, you're right. It's not all black people, but there was a so like I'll give you an example. When you go into a restaurant, you're going to see in the restaurants, you're going to see photos of like black civil rights leaders, along with you will see like they always there was this one post I remember damn near everybody had it with the with all the African kings and all of these African people that did great stuff. So there was always that undertone where within consciousness.
Yeah, but that's not
And
consciousness. That I personally believe that's a reverse psychology sent by the CIA to indoctrinate us to believe that a lot of us migrated and originally came from Africa when our
but
lineages
the
dictated.
CIA didn't create those things. We, the black community, was creating those
That
things.
sounds great, but you tell that to the people who were selling crack and building these 14 farms. You tell that to the drug dealers who built Miami and say that we built Miami. No, the CIA and the government were one of the people who built Miami off the backs of drug dealers. And then now we have Miami South Beach. So when that sounds great, but no, in reality, I don't believe that's a real situation. I don't believe that all these. I remember growing up and they said, "Oh, we were kings, we were queens." Now that's crazy. It's funny that you guys want to talk about Africa, but we never got to talk about the historical relevance of the Native Americans who were here when some of our lineages and bloodlines have been dipped and dyed into that skin color. So it don't make sense to me. You can't pick and choose what you want to associate. I understand you come from a different time period. That's cool, but I come from a time period where we look at the whole spectrum of it. How can you sit down and tell us we all came from Africa? Okay, great, but we never learned about the settlers. We never learned about the Native Americans. We never learned about any of the lands that we could. Seneca Village in Central Park. We didn't learn about that. How can you trust the information that's provided by a demographic of a community without asking questions? It makes no sense to me. So I don't know.
So when I say that, so this is what, and I don't want to, now this part, I don't want to necessarily say you right, but at the time, that's all we knew. Like,
Yeah.
everything was like, okay, we was from Africa. Now I understand what you're saying, especially with you guys, you younger folks. A lot more information is coming out. So the Native American part is coming out, which in a lot of us didn't know that. Me, it's a little bit different. Like I said, I originated in the Bahamas, even though I lived in New York. When I first went to New York, it was like in the 70s. But then I used to bounce back and forth to the Caribbean. So I know about the Bahamas. We know about the Seminoles because we have, that's part of our history where we when the Seminole Wars, a lot of the Seminoles escaped to the Bahamas because there was always that corridor that went back and forth from the Bahamas to.
I'll tell you
And my
this.
father is from an area that is a Seminole village,
I'll
which
tell you this. I'll
so
tell you
I
this.
knew of these black natives and
Hold on, hold
everything.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I'll tell you this. Right now, a lot of people are starting to wake up to the historical lineages of our bloodlines. And a lot of people are starting to question a lot of different information that was provided by the older generation and the questions that were not asked by the older generations, which become a very alarming to us as a community in whole. I understand that everybody wants to associate with the most popular kids in school, which is fine and all dandy. But the problem that we're having at this moment in time is not a us versus them situation. It's the allowing of disrespect coming from these people. And because they're in a less impoverished society or a less popular culture, we're supposed to allow it to happen. And everyone keeps telling us stop responding and not addressing the people who are being diabolical. So it's one of those particular situations where, let me give you an example just to clear it in the butt. When I was younger, my mother, 90s, around the 90s to 2000s, it was an uptick in aggressive women. The mentality changed. So I would go to school and these women would know, these girls would know, oh, you can't hit me back. I'm a girl. You can't hit me back. My mother raising two boys was like, I'm not with that shit. Yeah, girls is not gonna be hitting up my son and think he can't hit y'all back because you're a girl. Cut that shit. So what's changed the dynamic to the whole equal treatment is you're not going to be swinging on this guy. And my mother had to start telling, and a lot of generations after that started saying, don't put your hands on a man because if he hits you back, it's your fault. So that goes the same thing with everybody else. I didn't grow up in a reality where just because you come from a poor society or a poor place, oh, you can throw rocks and hide your hand. I'm supposed to feel sorry for you. No, you throw a fucking rock, I'm going to throw a fucking boulder, and then we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to say, stay in your place. Don't feel, I'm not going to feel bad for you. You have the real right to talk and act this type of way, be aggressive to me. Then I'm going to be full blown aggressive to you. Stay in your place. Don't taunt a lion. That's just what it is. So if you want the
So
success of the divide to stop, address the diabolicals. Address this. Because you want to know something? This is a fun fact that I learned from very wealthy people. They said, no one talks down to people and tries to attack down people. No one tries to belittle who's in a successful life, belittle poor people or homeless people. They're always looking up to try to throw rocks up. So I'm not going to keep allowing people to throw rocks up at us and disrespect our history and at the same time recreate and write our own history and not acknowledge our own history of what we're telling them.
now when you say that these people are disrespecting you, throwing rocks up at you, can you give me some examples of that?
Sure. I'll use videos that I've made. So here's a perfect example. Um, I did a video where I was in London and I was with this Caribbean guy. I was with these a couple of kids. We were sitting there talking about a whole bunch of different type of stuff, and this guy said, "Where you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from America." He's like, "Oh, hold on, you African American?" Wait, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm a Black American." He's like, "Hold on, oh, what's your ethnic group?" And I said, "Black American." He's like, "Oh, hold on, you don't know where you're from?" And I'm like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And I literally looked at my cameraman, and he was all jittery, and I'm like, "This is gonna be viral because he don't know." This is what they do. They sit down in these other countries and then they act and talk like this about us to these other people so far gone that they have these perfect example of what happens. And here's another video I shot. They allow white people to behave in our cultural norms even though they're not in our culture. So in the UK, there was this one chocolate dark skinned kid, or this one dark skinned kid around white people, and he's allowing them to say racist words to him because they're friends. Racist jokes. That's a domino effect because that type of mentality and the racist jokes align around Black American culture of racism, not African racism. So the N word, all these different things, it's Black American culture racism. And then that's the diabolicalness that happens. So when we interact, they make these jokes like you don't know where you come from, you don't know history, oh, you're uneducated, all this different type of stuff. But
And are you getting that from Caribbean people also saying that you don't know where you come from?
oh yeah, Caribbean and African, predominantly in the UK.
Oh, okay, okay, but because that's strange to me.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild to me too. I was baffled and dumbfounded, but it was crazy. I don't know. Diabolical situation. So like I said, like I don't have a problem with any of these ethnic groups at all. What I do have a problem is the lack of accountability in these particular ethnic groups to not address their people. Even I'm kind of curious to the Pan-Africanists at this moment in time because I never see a Pan-Africanist diabolically wrangle up one of their Africans who are acting diabolical to Americans at all. I've never not once seen a Pan-African. Maybe they are, but I've never seen a Pan-African grab an African by the head like, "What are you talking about? Watch your mouth." I'm curious.
Yeah, well, so even though people don't know it exists, but there are Pan African spaces where, and it's not. I don't even know if you could call them Pan African spaces because they're not traditional Pan African spaces. They're just African American, Caribbean, and African kids who go on YouTube and these different spaces and they sit down for hours duking it out. People have arguments back and forth and whatever, but people do have intelligent conversations amongst, you
But
know,
that was the point I was
and
making about
respectful
that.
conversations
But that was the
among.
point I was making about that guy, that the content you made. I said, look, that's easy. It's easy for me to travel around the world and cut out all the diabolical, disrespectful shit and then create an illusion of the type of reality of unity that we have on a global scale. That's one of the reasons a lot of people actually can relate and think that I'm a trusted creator because I'm not falsely creating fake narratives to make people feel uncomfortable. There was a boot.
Yeah, but why are you calling it a fake narrative? That's not necessary. That's not a fake
All right,
narrative.
I'll tell
I
you
mean,
why.
there are
Because
people.
let me give you an example. In our history, in Black American history in general, the South was known for the most hospitable places in the world, but also known for the most diabolical places in the world. So Black people have created this thing called the Green Book. And in the book, it was all the places that Black people should stay away from, which they spread it between the cultures. Now, I think it's more important for Black people to actually know the untrusty, uncomfortable places or conversations that are going to be held while traveling abroad. You should know how to properly respond to an African or Caribbean person if they say that you don't know where you're from. I've made the videos to be able to give people the education to actually respond appropriately instead of getting defensive and aggressive. This is where it comes down to. These videos are educational. There should not be any Nigerian to ever look at me and say that, no disrespect to Nigeria, shout out to Nigeria. But there shouldn't be any Nigerian who ever tells me like, "Oh, you don't know where you come from," and then I have to break down history of it. Like,
Now, do you think that it's a possibility that they just don't know, and it is because you have? I mean, I've seen it in your videos where when you explain it to them, I've seen people get it. You understand what I'm saying?
mhm.
So so it does seem like there is this, especially from because that's on the other side of the world, damn near. So they're not. A lot of these people are not versed in what goes on in the United States or in the Western Hemisphere because they're more focused on what they got going on where they're at. but I've seen people who actually it kind of like clicked in their mind when you explain
Yeah,
stuff to
yeah.
them.
Yeah, but that's cool. That's great that one person got it. The problem is not that one person, is the whole generalization of the stereotype in itself that needs to be checked. Right now, I feel like because these videos have been coming out, my honest opinion, I haven't seen any people saying Black Americans don't know where they come from anymore. I don't see the content of the constant farming of that content anymore at all. Nor do I see people saying Black people don't have culture in America, or Black or Americans don't have food. Or, I don't see these things. There's two creators who I think, one other creator other than mine, who I think is legitimately one of the most, who've made this such thing an impact. Me, of course, one, and another one named Blockcast, amazing creator who literally doubles down on education, and he's like a 30-year-old white man, which I love. So when it comes down to this, it's like, why do we have white people who bring the same type of education, and a Black American who brings the type of education, but everybody calls to say we're being diabolical? Where's the Caribbean people? Where's the people from the Bahamas checking these people? Why are you guys acting like you're a part of our community and you rock with us?
Yeah, but see, when you say broad statements like that, you have to. That's not fair
It's not
because
fair.
number one, not everybody even know about. You understand what I'm saying? It's not all situation, all circumstances. Another example is, so when I was talking about the creator, I'm not going to say his name again. I
Hold
said it
on, hold
before,
on. Let's think of the
and
point
this
you
is just
said.
that
Hold
point.
on. You just made it. You can't deviate like that. You just said, when I
Yeah.
make broad statements like that, what?
Yeah, when you make broad statements about why you guys are not doing this and are not doing that, how do you know whether or not people are doing this or
Are
doing that?
you?
Right? Because not
How?
all
You literally, I can tell you how. You literally just told me to my face on this chat, oh, I go to these African establishments to eat, and they look at me like I'm a Black American, like, and they treat me in good, but they didn't hear me speak, and you allowed it. You allowed it. You didn't check them on that and say, why would they treat a Black American worse? But what you think, because you're from the Bahamas, they should treat you differently, and you said, I still eat at any establishment. Why didn't you check
well
them and say, I'm
now,
not
but I
eating here?
also explained that it could also be a psychological thing too, where
So
the
what? You did
mind
not
probably
check.
takes a
This is the
while to
problem I'm having.
process
You did not check the
because
problem.
these
This, hold
people
on,
are
hold on. You're not listening.
obsessive.
You're not seeing the problem. You did not check the behavior for the sake of the young Black American boy or woman or girl who walks into that establishment next. You did not
No,
educate
you
them.
can't. How are you going to check a behavior of people just looking at you a certain
Then
way?
you check them for the sake of the next generation. As an elder, you should understand how to stand on business for the next generation. That's what I'm doing. I'm not allowing people to treat anybody any type of way based off the color of their skin or their ethnic background. That shit is not cool. So if I have to be
Yeah, but that's
a visual martyr for the next generation, so the next, your kids or the kids after you come to the UK, they don't get sit there and tell them that you don't know where you come from.
well, so you know what I do in those circumstances? I break the ice, and I start talking to people, and I have
You break the
conversations.
ice
And the
to look what you
conversation,
just said. I'm really breaking down the
yeah,
psych. This is how you know I've really been paying attention to what you were saying. You said they haven't heard me speak earlier in the conversation. You said they haven't heard me speak. They don't see my like my Bahama accent or my Bahama the way I talk, my dialect. So when you start
yeah.
talking and stuff like that, they automatically hear your dialect and assume that you're not from a Black America at all. That's how you break the ice. You don't break ice. You
No,
just,
that's not necessarily true.
all right.
That's not necessarily true because some African people, like my accent is not as strong as a Jamaican accent or a Trini accent, so they a lot of them still can't really tell the
My
difference.
question is, why are you been born in
But
the
even
70s? Why haven't you been able to
but
do
it,
this?
but whether I was a Caribbean or an American, it doesn't. So when I break the ice, because I could be just a full American person. If I broke the ice, what are they gonna do? Not
How
accept
do you,
me?
yeah, but
Like
why
these
do you want to
people
be
turn out to be
accepted? That's
some
the
of
problem. This is the
no,
problem.
no. Listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. These a lot of times, more often than not, these people turn out to be the most nicest people that you'll ever meet. Right?
Bullshit. Bullshit, bro. You can't sit down and say they the nicest people you ever meet only when it's dealing with one particular ethnic group. Against another ethnic group, they're not nice. The way they interact, the way they behave, why would you want to be accepted? Fuck them. They want to talk crazy, act crazy, treat people a certain type of way. Bro, I don't need these people at all. Cut their asses off from the neck. And if you say that you support Black Americans and shit like that, and you see, and in your head, this is what you exactly said. So you knew that they was treating Black Americans completely different. You knew that they was treating them bad. And in your head, you say they probably thought I was a Black American. That's why they treated me like that. That's crazy.
No,
And you
now check
didn't.
this out. Listen, because this is where you haven't you weren't listening to me too good, because I said that what you would notice is because, and that's another thing that you will have to take into consideration. You have to understand that every place have especially Black diaspora have a particular kind of trauma and that they're dealing with. So when it's the way the people process the information. So sometimes people will look at you and they're processing information.
Answer this
So
question.
you would take it in your mind. You think that they're looking at you in a diabolical
Answer this
way.
question. Let me
And
hold on,
nine
hold on, hold
times
on. I
that's not
understand your
even
perception.
necessarily
I
the
get.
case.
Listen. I
That's the
understand
reason
your
why I
perception.
open my mouth to break the ice, because
Hold
a lot
on,
of
hold
times I
on,
know that's
hold
not the
on,
case.
hold on. I understand your perspective. Answer this question. When they looked at you and you seen that they was giving you kind of an ugly look or uncomfortable look, in your head, you believed they probably think I'm a Black American because of the way I look, correct?
No, yes,
All
but
right then. Why is that a derogatory perspective or perception?
yes, but so okay, try. So let me.
Answer the question.
Put it
Why
like
is
okay, I don't
being
know how to
looked
explain this. That's like so what I'm talking about, it happens in every community. It even happens in the African American community also, right? So like for example, I remember all the way up into my 30s I was still smoking
you're
weed.
deviating? You're
I'm
deviating.
not but I'm just
Answer the
telling you, I'm
question.
giving
I don't
you
want
an
to hear about
example.
history. I don't want to hear about your history. Answer the question.
I'm giving an example.
No. Answer the question.
When you go
Why?
into
No.
certain
I don't
circles,
care. I
people
don't
are
care for that. I just
expecting people to look a certain way. When you
listen.
come in
Answer
there
the
looking
question,
different,
man. Listen. Answer the question. Why is it acceptable for people to treat you? Why is it acceptable for people to treat somebody or look at somebody in a bad way because they're Black or African American?
but that's the thing. It's your mind that's perceiving it as looking at it as a back way,
In your mind,
a
you
bad way.
perceived it like in your mind, you perceived it like that, and you accepted the reality that it is a hypothetical situation. Why is that acceptable in your mind?
Um, th- um, that's nothing you could anybody could do, or else you would be going around the world fighting everybody in the whole entire world
There is
because
something you could
everybody
have
do
did.
that.
You could have stood with the Black Americans and said this is unacceptable. Simple. It's simple.
What does that even mean, bro? Are you listening to yourself?
Yes, I am. I would
You're
not eat at
telling
that
me
establishment.
you're
If I
telling
let me
me
tell you
to
something, let me tell you something, let
stand
me tell you
with
something.
Black
Listen,
Americans because I go
listen,
into an African restaurant to buy
listen.
food, and the people look at me. They're in their mind, they're processing who this nigga is, and you're telling me to stand with Black American. What does that mean?
You in your mind are indoctrinated to accept the toxic behavior treatment towards Black American people. The automatic effect, you literally said they, in your head, you had your own perception. I'm reading your perception. Your perception and perspective is when they looked at you in a derogatory, nasty way, you in your head immediately say, they probably think I'm a Black
So
American.
you're telling me that Africans are oppressing Black Americans, is what you're saying? Or Caribbeans? Are Caribbean people oppressing Black Americans?
Listen, listen to what I'm saying to you. True or false? You walked into an African establishment. You saw them giving you dirty looks. You said in your
No,
head,
I say you the way you're putting an emphasis on it. When you put a dirty look, right? You're putting emphasis on it.
no, I'm not. I'm making a simple perspective. Fine. I made it simplistic. You seen that they was looking at you in a very uncomfortable, non-normal, friendly type of attire or whatever. You
It's
in your
not. It's
head.
not. It's not. Okay, put it like this. It's not necessarily mean mugging.
All
It's
right,
just that
cool.
people looking at you with a particular kind of curiosity.
All right, and
Or,
that's a mean, mugging, negative, derogatory perspective.
that's not how you gonna go through the world and go through life like that,
I
thinking like
agree.
that.
Answer the question. Why is it that immediately you said they probably think I'm an African or a Black American?
Because my aesthetic is Black American. Because I grew up in New York and Miami, and I wear Jordans and I wear
Wow,
polos.
that's what a Black
You
American
understand?
does?
And I'm a light skinned nigga.
That's crazy. All right, you
You
know what? You got it.
understand?
I'm gonna let you go. Enjoy the rest of your day, man. It was a great convo. Appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to ask?
No, that's it. But I don't understand how you feel like these people are, like just looking at somebody is aggressive or evil. Like
Bro, we got the
that's just
video, bro,
insane. Like
bro. The video.
to
Listen,
be like that, you'll be fighting everybody in the world.
bro. That's your. You can try to flip it in an angle that sounds great to you, but I understood. We understood exactly what you said. So don't try to. Well, you're gonna. Nah, we're not done, bro.
Oh,
We,
and one more thing before I go. Right. So do you believe it? Do you believe or not that the African community and the Caribbean community have respect for the African American community? Do you believe that or not?
yeah,
So I don't understand why you think that, like, and this is what I was saying before. So, and it kind of make me feel like you're kind of bringing it out now from what we were arguing before. Because, like I said before, I agree with most of what you say,
you
right?
haven't proved not one thing
With
you didn't
most
agree
of what
with.
you do. Because me personally, I don't, I like, to me, some of this, it's just insane. Some of the shit I hear people say, or if they say like their perspective, and a lot of times it's just that people just don't know,
Bro,
like
what are
they
you
just don't have
saying
the
right now?
information.
Like stay on focus. It's like you just go. You said, yeah, that's what I said before. What are you saying before?
Yeah, but right now you're making it like so. You're saying that well, see, now you kind of threw me off now, so I
You've
kind
been
of
throwing
forgot.
yourself off. Look, let me
But
tell you something. I said this from the beginning. Early, you tried to make this type of situation. You tried to make us and chat pay attention because I said this shit earlier, and he tried to act like he didn't try to do that. He's disingenuous. As matter of fact, this guy's disingenuous as fuck. So disingenuous as fuck. Because earlier he said a statement that was like, hold on, you can't put it in that particular stance like that. Like I think that I have this perspective or situation like that. And now he's trying to wrap that back up and say, whoa, within you. No, bro, you're trying to create a narrative that's not really there. I told you from the beginning, like you disagree. Like, come on, I pulled your car earlier. This is what I'm saying, bro. You can't trust these cats, gang. They try to play mind games, but you can't play mind game when my brain is the chessboard. You can't play mind games. My brain is the chessboard. Come on, man. I'm 5, 6, 7, 20 steps ahead of you. I played the game, played it backwards. Come on, bro. That was insane. That was insane. I just don't know, bro. What is that? Come on. You know who you dealing with. I'm not dumb. I come from a lineage of people that don't fuck around. You fucking up with the wrong person. I am not my ancestors. I'm better. Much better. Shit, you was born in the 70s. I was not born in the 70s, gang. My process is updated religiously. Nah, that was crazy. Look, now as you can see, like I literally called it. Like I told you, I was like, yo, bro, listen, like pay attention to this because he's been trying to push a particular narrative because he's from the Caribbean islands in general, and you've already seen like his whole process of the way he perceives things is diabolical. And I called it. I pulled the card like every step of the way. We had a full 1 hour conversation. This is like an over an hour conversation, gang. And I'm retaining all of this information from the start to the beginning, and that's what people don't realize. They think they can mess me up. This is what threw him off. Just now that I watched it over, this is what threw him off. He asked me, said, "Do you think the Africans and Caribbean people don't like have respect for Black American culture?" And I said, "Yeah, they do." And he was expecting me to say, "No, they don't," so he could say, "This is what I'm saying." But because I said, "Yeah, they do," it threw off his whole equilibrium. It threw off his whole equilibrium, and he didn't know how to respond. He was like, "Wait, hold on." His brain was like, nah, that's not the. He was trying to respond, but his brain was like, nah, hold on, wait, that don't fit right. Hold on. How no, I do think they have respect for our culture and stuff like that. Do they have respect for us? That's a different thing. You know what I mean? And individually, not everybody. I can't generalize the whole African or Caribbean culture in general, but I'm talking about the basis consensus of the reality that we're constantly living in. And to the content creator he's referencing to, the African content creator who goes out there and shows the positive stuff. Yeah, I would get a lot more views and engagement and a lot more support from my community and all these other communities if I showed only the positive situations. But at the end of the day, this helps people. Now, maybe in the future, I might have to take out all of this combative, like stuff like this, and these conflictual situations, because it's true. Like I don't get a lot of views or recognition for the type of work that I do. I don't get much support from my particular community. I have with millions of Black Americans who watch these videos who are not even subscribed or members of this channel, don't even donate in a super chat for all the work and things that I do. What they say is, your work is much appreciate you. That's not fucking helping me, gang. Respectfully, it's really not. That's not helping anything. Like, most of these people watch this video all the way through and still haven't even liked the video, and right now they probably like the video. You know how I want to say disingenuous, but you know how rude that is? Like, you do know that this is helping you, right? Like, regardless of you're African, you're Caribbean, you're Black American, you do know that this perspective of seeing the world from this point of view is helping you see things from a different perspective. This is education. This is information. This is conversation. This is a live show, live audience. That's why I advise you to interact with and comment your thoughts throughout this particular interaction while you're watching it. This is something that you're not going to see. It's not some preconceived, packaged, all perfectly great. No, it's an authentic interaction with authentic people with authentic experiences. This is not something that you actually want to invest into. It's not controlled by mass media. It's not diabolical. I'm not a disrespectful person. I'm very highly intelligent. I conduct myself in a very respectful way on both parties. I'm not even diabolical. Like, I really not. I might use the word diabolical, and I call some couple people in this chat. I said the diabolicals. I peeped and I was dying in my head. I'm like, yo, the diabolicals. But I stopped myself multiple times from being diabolical. But hey, it is what it is, right? I could package this stuff all up. I could take out all the toxic stuff and just start doing the whole food reviews and positivity and showing love with diaspora communication and the positive promotion of Pan-Africanism. I can. It's not a problem. It'll get me hundreds of thousands of views and I wouldn't have an issue at all. People would love it. But would that help the people? You know, you can't say I didn't try. You know, you can't say I didn't ask for the support from my particular community. And there are people, 132 people became members on this channel. I love you guys, I really do. But we got millions of Black Americans around the world who don't, like, y'all watch these videos and you don't see how this is very important. Put your money where your mouth is. Everybody says we need a whole society. We need people. We need food for us, by us. And then you see your own brother or sister making those things happen and you don't want to support until everybody else support. It's crazy. Like, hey, it is what it is. But then as soon as you switch it up and you get, the white man gets into your back and he starts telling you, well, promote this and shoot that. Now you're like, oh, he's sold out. Nah, y'all wasn't sold out to what? Y'all wasn't with me from the beginning. Y'all wasn't with me from the beginning. Y'all wasn't with me from the beginning. Nah, we support you. Keep it up, young brother. You the type of person to give me a card on my birthday with no money in it. Fuck you. You're the type of person to give me a card on my birthday with no money in it. Talk about happy birthday. You ain't happy birthday. You know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, that's how I feel. That's how I be feeling. I'm gonna keep it real. Like, it really be feeling like that. I'm like, damn, bro, shit. But then you got the couple people who donate, you know, become members and stuff like that. Like, nah, he right though. But the rest of them be like, you just content, bitch ass nigga. It's cool. But yeah, give your thoughts and your opinions down below. If you made it this far into the video, comment, wow, that was amazing. Comment, wow, that was amazing. If you made it this far into the video, I really want to know who actually made it this far into the video. I'm really curious, generally. So when you comment, wow, that was amazing, I'm going to be looking for those particular comments out of it. A lot of people don't make it to the end, you know, but you did. My name's AdonisCrashBoom. You guys are watching Adonis Live. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't only see me one way. And just so you know, every day you have an opportunity to make it a movie.
Hands up, little mama, what's up? What's good? Know you see me pulling up in that truck. Rams